$5,000. That's all it took for my family to throw me away. Now, 7 years later, I sat in my private office overlooking Manhattan, reviewing the final documents that would make me the majority shareholder of First Heritage Bank, the same bank my family had run for 3 generations. They still didn't know I was behind the anonymous investment firm gradually buying up their shares. They had no idea that their failure of a daughter now controlled their fate with a single signature. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Ms. Anderson, your father is on line 1. He's insistent about speaking with you regarding the bank's stock purchases." I smiled, remembering the last time I'd heard my father's voice. "Tell him Ms. Chen is in a meeting. He can schedule an appointment like everyone else." 7 years earlier, $5,000? Are you insane? My father's voice echoed through the mahogany-paneled study of our family estate. "What kind of irresponsible nonsense is this, Mira?" I stood before his massive desk, clutching the rejection letter from the tech startup accelerator program. "Dad, please, it's just a bridge loan until my first investor meeting next week. The prototype is almost ready and—" Enough. He slammed his hand on the desk. "You walk away from a prime position at the bank to chase some ridiculous dream about phone apps or whatever this is, and now you have the audacity to ask for money." My mother sat silently in the corner, her perfect posture and carefully neutral expression a testament to years of avoiding conflict. My older brother Thomas leaned against the bookshelf, poorly hiding his smirk. "It's not just an app," I tried to explain. "It's an AI-driven financial platform that could revolutionize personal banking. If you just look at the business plan." "Business plan?" Thomas interrupted with a snort. "Playing with computers isn't a business plan, little sister. Real banking is what we do at First Heritage." I bit back a retort. Thomas, with his MBA and his complete lack of original thoughts, was considered the family success story. At 28, he was already being groomed to take over as CEO of First Heritage Bank, despite having never had a single innovative idea in his life. "The accelerator program starts next week," I said, turning back to my father. "I just need enough to cover the entry fee and 2 months' rent in Silicon Valley. After that what?" My father's voice was cold. "You'll waste more time and money on this fantasy while your brother actually contributes to the family legacy." "George," my mother finally spoke up, her voice soft. "Perhaps we should." "No." He cut her off. "I've indulged this foolishness long enough. Mira, you have 2 choices. Either come back to your position at the bank, where you belong, or what?" I challenged, though I already knew the answer. "Or you're on your own. Completely. No trust fund, no family support, nothing." The room fell silent. Even Thomas stopped smirking. "You disowned me over $5,000. My voice was barely a whisper. "I'm trying to save you from yourself." He leaned back in his chair, every inch the stern patriarch. "This tech nonsense is beneath you. You're an Anderson. We're bankers, not computer programmers." I looked around the study, taking in the oil paintings of past Anderson patriarchs, the shelves lined with banking awards, the heavy atmosphere of old money and rigid traditions, everything I'd been trying to escape. "Fine," I straightened my spine. "Keep your money, keep your legacy. I'll make it on my own." "Don't be dramatic," Thomas scoffed. "You won't last a month without family support." I turned to leave, then paused at the door. "You know what your problem is? You're so focused on preserving the past that you can't see the future. Banking is changing, whether you like it or not." "Banking," my father declared, "is about tradition, stability, and trust. Not whatever digital gimmicks you're chasing." Those were the last words my father said to me. I walked out of that study, out of that house, and out of their lives. I had $2,300 in my personal account, a laptop, and an idea that I knew could change everything. The first year was brutal. I slept on friends' couches, worked part-time as a coding instructor, and spent every free moment refining my platform. When the initial investor meetings fell through, I didn't quit. When my credit cards maxed out, I didn't run home begging for forgiveness. Instead, I got creative. I started freelancing as a financial software consultant, using my insider knowledge of banking systems to help smaller banks modernize their operations. Every dollar I earned went back into developing my platform. I changed my name professionally, using my mother's maiden name, Chen, to avoid any connection to the Anderson banking dynasty. I learned to live on instant noodles and coffee, to work 18-hour days, to ignore the doubtful whispers in my head that sounded suspiciously like my family's voices. The breakthrough came 14 months after I left home. A small West Coast credit union implemented my platform as a pilot program. Within 3 months, their customer acquisition rate tripled. 6 months in, their operational costs had dropped by 40%. Suddenly, investors weren't just listening, they were competing for a chance to fund my company. Fintech magazines started writing about the innovative AI-driven platform revolutionizing personal banking. Industry leaders began asking who this mysterious Ms. Chen was. I kept my identity hidden, working through subsidiaries and shell companies. I watched from afar as First Heritage Bank struggled to keep up with digital transformation. Their stock price started a slow but steady decline as younger customers flocked to more tech-savvy competitors. Thomas's traditional approach to banking was failing in a world that demanded innovation. Board members started questioning his leadership. The same people who had applauded my father's decision to stick to real banking were now demanding changes First Heritage wasn't equipped to make. 5 years after walking out, my company, Nova Financial Technologies, was valued at $50 million. We had contracts with banks across 3 continents. Our AI platform was processing transactions worth billions of dollars daily, and still my family had no idea. They probably thought I was working some basic tech job, if they thought of me at all. The irony of their bank now desperately trying to license banking software from one of my shell companies wasn't lost on me, but simple success wasn't enough. I wanted more than just to prove them wrong. I wanted to own the very institution they had used to control me. So I began buying First Heritage Bank stock through various investment firms, slowly, carefully, staying just under the reporting thresholds. Now, 7 years after being thrown out over a $5,000 loan, I was about to become the majority shareholder of First Heritage Bank. The final paperwork sat on my desk, waiting for my signature. My phone buzzed, another message from Thomas. Ms. Chen, please. First Heritage Bank is a family institution. We need to discuss these stock purchases. I deleted it without responding. Let him sweat. Tomorrow, at the shareholders meeting, they would all learn exactly who Ms. Chen really was. My assistant knocked softly. Ms. Anderson? The car is ready to take you to tomorrow's meeting. I looked out over the city skyline, remembering that scared young woman who'd walked out of her family home with nothing but a dream and determination. Thank you, Claire, and please call me Ms. Chen, at least until tomorrow. I gathered the papers into my briefcase, straightening my designer suit, worth more than that $5,000 loan I'd once begged for. Tomorrow would change everything. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success so complete that it forces your doubters to face exactly how wrong they were. And I was just getting started. The First Heritage Bank shareholders meeting was held in the same wood-paneled conference room where I'd sat through countless lectures about tradition and legacy. The room hadn't changed, the same oil paintings of past bank presidents, the same heavy curtains, the same atmosphere of old money and rigid hierarchy. But I had changed. I sat quietly in the back, watching the room fill with shareholders, board members, and executives. My father took his place at the head of the table, looking older than I remembered, but still radiating that same unbending authority. Thomas sat at his right hand, tugging nervously at his tie as he reviewed his notes. The mysterious Ms. Chen isn't here yet, one board member muttered. Perhaps she's reconsidering her position. If only they knew. My father cleared his throat. Let's begin. As you all know, we're facing a critical situation. An unknown investor has been accumulating significant shares of First Heritage Bank through various shell companies. Today, we must address this threat to our independence. I almost laughed at his choice of words. Independence. As if the bank hadn't been completely dependent on outdated methods and stubborn adherence to tradition. Thomas stood up, clicking to his first PowerPoint slide. Over the past 18 months, several investment firms have been systematically purchasing First Heritage Bank stock. We now believe these firms are all controlled by a single entity, Nova Financial Technologies, headed by someone known only as Ms. Chen. Murmurs rippled through the room. Nova Financial Technologies had become a major player in banking technology. Every person in that room had heard of the company that was revolutionizing financial services. We've tried to arrange meetings with Ms. Chen. Thomas continued, his voice strained. But she's been elusive. Until now, I said clearly, standing up from my seat in the back. Every head turned, my father's face went pale. Thomas dropped his presentation remote. Hello, Father. Thomas. I walked to the front of the room, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor. It's been a while. Mira? Thomas whispered. What are you? How are you? Ms. Chen, at your service. I smiled, setting my briefcase on the table. Though I suppose I should say Ms. Chen Anderson. The room erupted in shocked whispers. Board members exchanged stunned glances. My father gripped the arms of his chair, his knuckles white. This is impossible, he managed finally. You left. You were playing with computers. Playing? I raised an eyebrow, pulling documents from my briefcase. Let's talk about what I've actually been doing. Nova Financial Technologies, my company, currently processes over $50 billion in transactions daily. Our AI platform is used by banks in 20 countries, and yes, we're worth significantly more than First Heritage Bank's entire market capitalization. I distributed copies of a thick report to each board member. This details First Heritage's technological weaknesses, declining market share, and failure to adapt to modern banking requirements. It also outlines my plan to save this institution from its own stubbornness. Thomas frantically flipped through the report. But the stock purchases, you can't. As of this morning, I cut him off smoothly. I control 51% of First Heritage Bank's shares. I own this bank. My father stood up abruptly. This is outrageous. You can't just walk in here and. I can and I have. I met his gaze steadily. 7 years ago, you threw me out over $5,000. You said I was chasing fantasies while Thomas understood real banking. Well, let's look at the results. I clicked to a new slide on the presentation screen. Under Thomas's leadership, First Heritage has lost 40% of its market value. Customer acquisition is down 60%. Young professionals, the future of banking, are moving their accounts to more technologically advanced competitors. The board members leaned forward, their expressions shifting from shock to intense interest as they absorbed the numbers. Meanwhile, I continued, my computer games have revolutionized banking technology. The platform you rejected, it's now the industry standard. Those digital gimmicks you dismissed, they're generating billions in revenue. Why? My father's voice was barely a whisper. Why come back like this? Because you were wrong. I turned to face the entire room. All of you were wrong. Banking isn't just about tradition. It's about innovation, adaptation, and understanding how people actually want to manage their money. I pulled up another slide showing Nova Financial's growth projections. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to save First Heritage Bank. My company's technology, combined with this bank's established reputation, could create something extraordinary. The board members were nodding now, looking at the numbers with growing enthusiasm. Even Thomas had stopped trying to protest, his face a mask of stunned realization. The choice is simple, I continued. Either work with me to bring First Heritage into the modern era, or watch it continue to decline into irrelevance. And if we refuse? My father challenged, though his voice lacked its usual authority. I smiled. You can't. I own controlling interests. The only question is whether you want to be part of the bank's future or retire with what's left of your dignity. The room fell silent. Board members looked back and forth between my father and me, waiting to see how this power struggle would resolve. Finally, my father spoke, his voice heavy with defeat. The board should consider all options. After she left, I walked to the window, looking out over the city. 7 years ago, I'd walked away from this building with nothing but determination and a dream. Now I owned it, had transformed it, had made it into something even my stubborn father had to admit was impressive. My phone buzzed, a message from Thomas. Congratulations on the Innovation Award. You were right about banking changing, about everything really. I smiled, remembering his smirk in our father's study that day. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving people wrong. It's proving yourself so right that they have no choice but to admit it. A notification popped up on my computer. Another bank was interested in licensing Nova Financial's technology. Their offer was for $10 million, twice what First Heritage's annual profit had been under Thomas's leadership. I opened the proposal, thinking about how far I'd come from begging for a $5,000 loan. Sometimes the smallest rejections lead to the biggest successes. Sometimes being thrown away is just the universe's way of forcing you to soar. I clicked accept on the licensing deal, then opened my calendar to schedule dinner with my mother. After all, if I could revolutionize an entire bank, maybe I could revolutionize a family too. One innovation at a time.